Okay, this review will be on the 2005 World Series champion Chicago White Sox. Let's get right into the offense. We'll get started with the top of the order, every day 1-2 in your order. Left fielder Scott Pasednik and second baseman Tad Iguchi. You see their on base chance numbers right there. Those numbers are looking okay. I wish Pasednik's numbers against righties was a little bit higher, but do get some decent consistency out of Iguchi hitting second. So those numbers are looking okay. If we look at the middle of the order, and I should have stated before that there was no platooning in the White Sox lineup according to the Strat book. The lineups were the same versus lefties and righties every day as I just go down the list right now. So yeah, we got Everett 3, Konerko 4, and Rowan 5. First, I'm going to show you their on base chances, and then I'm going to show you the hits with multiple base advancement. Obviously, Paul Konerko is the centerpiece of this lineup. Really nice numbers out of Konerko. Um, One thing that worries me just a little bit is I'm not crazy about the runner advance hits you get out of Everett and Aaron Rowan's numbers against right-handed pitching is just a little bit low. So I just wish that was a little bit higher. Now let me show you the numbers for your 6-7 guys, Jermaine Dye and catcher AJ Perzinski. You see all of their numbers right there. And then we look at the bottom of the order with your third baseman and your shortstop, Creed and Uribe. You see, you get pretty nice production out of your number 9 hitter, Uribe. He doesn't have a lot of on base chances on his card, but especially against left-handed pitching, you get good bang for your buck out of Uribe as far as runner advance hits. So that is nice to see. Overall, I got the 2005 White Sox offense as just a little bit above average as they graded out at a 3.1 out of 5. As I just stated, some of the numbers against right-handed pitching worries me a little bit, specifically what you get out of Everett in your 3 hole and Rowan, who hits fifth. You do have a solid cleanup hitter in Konerko. As I said, he's the centerpiece of this offense, but I just wish the runner advance hits were just a little bit higher in the meat of this White Sox lineup that you have for 2005. So that's how I came down with a score of a 3.1 out of 5. Defensively, everything is looking really good for the 2005 Chicago White Sox. You see, I have them grading out at a 4.3 out of 5. That's an excellent score. Um, you do have a little bit of a issue in right field with Jermaine Dye. He's a 3 and he has a double-digit E rating. But other than that, the defense is looking really, really good, especially in the infield. And I've said this lots of times before. I love it when your first baseman and third baseman have very low E ratings. It's a very good defensive team for the 2005 Chicago White Sox, and that's reflected in their score. 4.3 out of 5 is an excellent, excellent score. So moving along to the starting rotation. I'll get started with Ace Mark Burley. You're looking really good with him. Consistent numbers across the board. So he's looking really solid. Let me go ahead and show you the numbers for your 2 through 5 starters: Garcia, Garland, Contreras, and Hernandez. Um, now I really like the on base numbers that you get, especially out of Garcia, Garland, and Contreras. Those numbers are looking really good. And the ballpark effect home runs and clean home runs on cards, those numbers they're about average for a starting pitcher. You see, Garcia is a 3 by 1. That's versus lefties, then versus righties. Same with Garland. And that could be a little bit of an issue if you're playing a game in Chicago, because according to the Strat book, excuse me, according to the Strat book, home runs on a 20-sided die is a 1 to 18 for both lefties and righties. So that's one thing to keep an eye on um, when you're playing with the 2005 Chicago White Sox. You could run into a little bit of a problem with these right-handed pitchers facing left-handed hitting. Um, it did bring down the depth score just a little bit for the '05 White Sox, but you can see overall their starting rotation still grades out at a very good score of a 4 out of 5. You're looking pretty good with Burley, Garcia, and Garland as your top three starters. That's a very solid threesome at the top of your rotation. Now let's take a look at the '05 White Sox bullpen. We'll get started with the closer, Dustin Hermanson. You see all of his numbers right there. You're looking really good with him. He is a one-inning reliever, but you see, you get really solid numbers out of Hermanson, and I also really like the fact that he keeps the ball in the ballpark. The bullpen depth on this Chicago White Sox bullpen is looking very interesting. I'm going to go one by one here as I show you each guy and what I like about their card. Bobby Jenks, obviously right-handed reliever. He's a two-inning reliever, which helps. And this is one of those examples of where you have a righty who completely shuts down left-handed hitting. You see a very solid card out of Jenks. He has a little bit of an issue, I guess, facing right-handed hitters. He does have a double-digit number when it comes to getting on base, and he does have a couple of home runs on that side. But very interesting card out of Jenks, so he's definitely someone that you're going to want to use a lot. Now let me take a look at right-hander Cliff Polite. Interesting card here. You can see he has very good numbers when it comes to allowing base runners, but a little bit of a power issue on his card. So that's something to keep an eye on. This is definitely a guy that I would use if you're playing a game in a pitcher-friendly park. But again, if you're playing in a park where it favors the hitters, those ballpark effect home runs is just something to keep an eye on. Let me show you uh, left-hander Neil Kotz. I think this is really your go-to setup guy before Hermanson. In my opinion, this is the eighth inning guy that you use to get the ball to your closer. You see just an outstanding card across the board when it comes to allowing base runners, and he keeps the ball in the ballpark. Last, I'm going to show you the numbers for Luis Vizcaino. Double digit numbers when he faces left handed hitters, which I'm not particularly crazy about. And his ballpark effect home runs, that's about average. It is a card that you could use. Now, he is a two-inning reliever. This could be a card that you would use mainly if you're going to a bullpen early in a game, like the fourth, fifth, or even like the sixth inning, something like that. It is a useful card, but it's not a guy who I would necessarily use in a late inning situation when you're looking to hold on to a lead. I think this is a very interesting bullpen. It just needs to be managed properly. Again, like I said before about Bobby Jenks, his on base numbers against right-handed hitters worries me a little bit. Not to mention he has a couple of home runs on his card, but you do have some really interesting options out of this bullpen, especially when you talk about guys like Jenks and Kotz, um, who set up for your closer, Hermanson. So you can see overall the 2005 White Sox bullpen grades out at a very good score of a 4 out of 5. Very impressive bullpen for the '05 White Sox. So if we're to peel everything back and look at the '05 Sox as a whole, you'll see I have them grade out with a very good score of a 3.85 out of 5. This is one of those examples of where I think this team graded just slightly lower than I thought they would, because I have played a number of games with them in the past, and I remember really liking the team when I was doing a solo playthrough and I was playing against them. But when I sat down and looked at the cards, that was when I started to see, okay, well, I don't like this. I'm not too crazy about that, or I didn't see this the first time. Um, but it's still a very solid score. I think the '05 White Sox are a team that has kind of forgotten about a little bit when people think about the decade of the 2000s, because that was the decade that saw basically the end of the Yankee dynasty winning World Series, and then the Red Sox won in 2004. Um, in a miraculous fashion, beating the Yankees, coming back down 3-0 and winning four straight, and then winning a World Series. And the fact that the White Sox won in '05, and they did not have like that follow-up season like in '06 or '07 or anything like that. I think in '06, I think they won like 88 games or something like that and missed the playoffs. And then the year after that, they really fell off. So the '05 White Sox really were kind of like a one and done team. But the one thing you got to remember about the '05 White Sox, they did go 11-1 in that postseason on their way to win the World Series. So it was really a outstanding team. It's really one of the great teams of the decade of the 2000s, and of course, Strat-O-Matic gave them a Diamond Gems team in their set, very deservingly. And I think the '05 White Sox are pretty much in the same category with some teams that I haven't done reviews on, but I have played either for or against them before. Teams like the '02 Angels, the one team that I just did a review on, the '03 Florida Marlins. All these teams you're going to see, they're all going to finish around that, 3.7 to like 3.9 range. And again, like I always say, don't pay attention to my final scores. That's just something that I do to just kind of summarize everything. I just like showing the cards and talking about what I like or don't like about them. But I do feel like the '05 White Sox are very similar to a lot of teams in the sense of they have some very strong points. And then after that, it's all a matter of how bad the weaknesses are. And basically, when you have an offensive score of a 3.1 out of 5, um, what that means for me is the offense is basically a little bit above average. And I think if you sit down and play with the '05 White Sox, you'll basically see what I mean when I say that, because the on base numbers at the top of the order are just okay, not great. Same thing with the middle of the order and the righty lefty mix and the depth in the order. Everything is just above average. Again, I believe the strengths of the '05 White Sox is in their starting pitching and their defense, and I think the bullpen is a definite strength just as long as it is managed properly when you're playing for the '05 White Sox. So that's my take on the 2005 World Champions. They grade out with a very good score of a 3.85 out of 5, or I'll just call it a 3.9. Why not just go ahead and round up? So that's what I have for you for the '05 White Sox. My next video, I'm going to try to get it done sometime this week. I'm doing something a little bit different with my next video. I think maybe you'll get a kick out of it. I'm doing something with the 1980 cards, not doing a team review necessarily as much as it is basically building a almost like a draft board for the entire 1980 set. I've been working on that for about the last week or so, and just have to figure out how to format the presentation for that. So, uh, nonetheless, I thank you all for watching. It is greatly appreciated, and I will talk to you all down the road.